2023, the Scuderia Ferrari calendar, round 7, but what is effectively round 5 of the 2026 FIA Formula 1 World Championship, and we will of course climb into the cockpit of the F125 car, but very soon, finally very soon, we will be jumping into the real F126 cockpits, so that we can show you exactly how to master, one of the traditional tracks, one of the tracks where we had a lot of success with 3 Grand Prix victories, 2 pole positions, and a solitary fastest lap, as you can see from these shiny Formula 1 Grand Prix winner trophies. And of course, it is also the 3rd Formula 1 Grand Prix weekend of the season, so we are very excited to see what exactly will happen there. Obviously, from the race introduction, you already know from that Scuderia Ferrari Red Retina iMac exactly what the circuit Villeneuve is mostly about. And this circuit, really, as we staying on the North American continent and going from Miami, really the tropical Grand Prix, to Montreal, really the Polar Grand Prix, it will definitely be something, and we hope to deliver some fantastic performances in both the sprint and the Grand Prix. And of course, because last season, as you know, Canadian Grand Prix hosted round 10 of the championship, so it simply means that there will be no sprinting, but you will see this hot lap as the cars will qualify in a hot lap fashion for the sprint during the sprint qualifying. So I hope you guys will enjoy it with this Formula 1 2026 fashion. Before we will show you the new F126 laps, we will of course we are still waiting, as there's this big announcement with obviously the new Formula 1 F126 pack coming up very soon, so we are very excited about it. But for the time being, we will jump right into this cockpit. We will first go over the setup, because it is very important that the car is stable, especially over the curves. This is what the circuit Villeneuve is all about, the stability over the curves, having a good traction and a really good top speed. So actually it's not easy to set up, but also I think the warm-up lap will be key, because we will show you the exact trajectory through each and every turn, and especially through each and every chicane, where to hit the curves, where to avoid them, so that you can find it on a pole position like me. Yeah, this one is a champion! As we, of course, Ferrari has started it on a pole 8 times, but we won here 12 times, set the 10 fastest laps, and with the 37 podiums, that's the minimum objective that we have for this weekend. So everybody, let's take a look at the round 5, really what should be round 7 of this exciting championship, as I will climb here in my lovely fashion into the cockpit of these F125 cars. And of course, we will also talk about how that battery deployment will be absolutely critical over here. So everybody, let's go to Canada. As you can see that it will take place after Barcelona in June, but it is now taking of course place in May, so that will also play the role, because the ambient temperatures will be lower. As you can see that lovely kind of the dome really resembling the atomium from Brussels, right? This was all built on the man-made Notre Dame Island, the Ile Notre Dame, as it's called in French. We are in the French-speaking section, obviously, of Canada, and yeah, it was built for the 1917 Expo. The setup, though, is absolutely critical. So everybody, let's take a look at it, because you might be thinking there are so many long straights, right? So you probably just wanna run a very low wing, but you actually do not really want to do that. And here is exactly why, because you need the stability, through the corners, and especially on the acceleration. So fuel load stays the same at 10 kg, so 10 kilograms. But here we will change, as you can see, the arrow. So for the aerodynamics, front wing arrow will be at 35, and the rear wing aerodynamics at 30. So that will allow you over here to still have a pretty good top speed. But of course, it will crucially, allow you to have that stability as we will go, through some of the, the turns, right? Where, it will be important, to get through the chicanes quickly and not to be losing a 10 or here and there and everywhere, because basically there are 5 big chicanes, so that can be very costly if we count, of course, don't count the hairpin as well. Now the transmission, so differential adjustment on throttle will be at 100%, so that allows you to have a good decent traction, but you want to help out, with the roll to a lot of the corners, right? Because, there are quite sharp changes of direction, so we put the differential adjustment of throttle at 30%. Now for the suspension geometry, we put it all the way to the minimum. Front camber at minus 3.50 degrees, rear camber at minus 2 dead, minus 2.00 degrees, front toe out then at 0.00 degrees, and the rear toe in at 0.10 degrees. That will give the car a nice stability, and we keep the suspension as follows. So front suspension very firm at 38, but not completely firm. Very soft for the rear suspension at 9, but not completely soft. Front anti-roll bar, I like to keep it at 8. Rear anti-roll bar completely to the maximum at 21. As obviously, you really don't want, because as you can see here, the stiff anti-roll bars, they will reduce the amount of body roll while turning into the corners, with such a sharp turn-ins. One of the biggest issues you will face at the circuit, Jill will have, named of course after the Ferrari legend over here, it will be that, the car can simply spin out as you turn, and then, you don't want to be overcorrecting all the time. And now here, we of course always try to run the cars very, very low, even though in F126, that might not be such a big issue as the battery deployment, takes the main stage. So front ride height at 21, rear ride height at 48, that allows you to ride the curves without unsettling the car too much. Front rear bias at 56%, that's my favorite, and of course brake pressure at 100%. But there is a specific way you have to brake for every corner to make sure you don't lock up the wheels. For the tires, so here you can decide, right? Actually, putting the tire pressures all the way to the maximum can increase your top speed. But here I'm really going to go for a traction, because I found out that actually it delivers more lap time. This is why I'm pretty much always planting it on a pole position, as you guys know. Some front right tire pressure at 24.0 psi per square inch, and it will be same for the front left tire pressure at 24.0 psi per square inch. Again, we want the tires to be nice and responsive to go out, but again, it can cause more tire wear even for right. So rear right tire pressure at 21.5 psi per square inch, rear left tire pressure at 21.5 psi. So this setup with the per square inch, obviously that simply means that you will have less of a contact patch, right? So it will not give you such a super top speed, but which could be a bit of an issue. But again, you will have the battery deployment, and I believe the stability through the corners is absolutely critical, especially the ability to get on the power without having to overcorrect the car. So this was the setup. Now let's go for the warm-up lap. Okay, so over here we will be going here to the wall of the champions. You can see a lot of the cruise ships, 8th gear, and you will brake right up here quite late from the 8th, really to the 5th or the 4th gear. And here, actually, it's all about taking lots of the curves, right? Here and here, but this is the wall of the champions. Michael Schumacher, even me, as you will see, obviously, I also ended up over there. So obviously, I'm playing the concurrent season. It is very, very easy to do, because if you hit the curb just a little bit too hard and unsettle the car, there's no runoff, right? So you might be wondering why there's no runoff, because it's an island, so there is hardly any space, for you to really, go and, pretty much, build the track, right? Build the barriers. So the barriers are very, very close. As you can see here, we can see some of the nice podiums over there as we start the lap. Canadians did a great job over here extending, obviously, this tribune. And here we will, brake very, very hard to the 4th or the 3rd gear and take a lot of the inner curve, as this is the place where, Lewis Hamilton was emotionally given in 2017 that Ayrton Senna's helmet, as he surpassed his pole record. And with our form, we will definitely surpass it. Now this, section, as the city of the Montreal opens up under this Qatar Airways overpass, it is very important to go on the power early, but the prancing horse in particular will be prancing so much over here. So you just have to be careful with it, and be a little bit patient and don't apply 100% throttle. Then 5th, 6th, 7th gear, this is completely, blind, but you can, simply trust it and take a lot of the inner curve and also a lot of the other curves over here, and, almost be kissing the wall over here. That's, to optimize the lap time over here, really. The car will be nice and stable, but again, you don't want to hit it much too hard, as again, that Montreal is saying hello to you there behind the fence. Now here, you go to the 7th gear, and here you can brake in a straight line and you brake very, very hard, but not when it's bad, as Sebastian Vettel found out in 2011 when he lost the lead to Jenson Button on the last lap. And this is one of the most difficult corners in Formula 1. It doesn't look like, but basically you cannot just get on the power because you would spin. This is what cost me the 2023 and 2016 races here when I collided with Hamilton and Bottas, the former Mercedes teammates, respectively. Here again, you would then engage, the straight mode, the active aero, previously obviously drag reduction system, the DRS, and if you can, maximize the traction there, that is easily up to half a second, believe it or not. So massive amounts of lap time can be found there. Now here, as we can see that power mode, because obviously in the F1 25, right, the F1 movie would be released, so there are lots of these advertisements. You can brake very hard, keep it to the left, and ride the curbs confidently, very high. Try to avoid the orange curbs, but if you hit them a little bit, it will just unsettle the car a lot. But the important thing is try to always keep the wheel straight. This beautiful SF1000T in-1 Formula 1 racing simulator wheel, so that you don't spin out, because every time you get out of these chicanes, you can spin out, and it just really troublesome. Here is the hairpin, obviously the scene of that Kubica accident, where obviously the feet were hanging out, and here you just brake in a straight line and very, very quickly from 8 to second gear. That's the fastest way, right? Sometimes you can downshift slower, but you will be just losing time and immediately on the power. Here you can just counter steer, the oversteer, and actually you will still have that lap time as you then head down to the main straight. If you go into the pits, obviously just be careful with the other cars. Here you will have the active aero, definitely wanna deploy the battery, but I think the cars will probably be struggling, the F1 26 cars, with having the full battery charge, because this is after 3 relatively long straights, especially this one. So it will be interesting to see as we see the overtakes into what is a tight final chicane and going into that wall of the champions. So this is how we master the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. And everybody, as we go under Louis Vuitton, which sponsors the trophies for this year, let's go for a hot lap. Let's go out, Felix and champion. This is Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Come on. Nice. Look at these reactions. Come on! Ride the crumbs high! Quickly to the fourth gear! Accelerate! Come on, come on! Oh, we've been overshooting, but let's go to the hairpin and look at this! Third gear and go. Come on, come on. Let's go, Felix and champion. Come on, come on. You can make it. We made it. Ooh, nice one. Yes, in less than 2 seconds, obviously, from our personal best. So that was really great. Hot lap. You could see, for example, these reactions, they really made it, because the car can all of a sudden go left and right, as I guess that Prancing Horse wants to discover over here what Il Notre Dame is all about. So hope you love this hot lap, and this is exactly how you planned it on pole position. Yeah. Nice. So it was really great. One of the shortest tracks, obviously, over here. So it's always a pleasure here to show it to you guys, and we cannot wait to see how the F1 26 cars will handle it. I mean, this could be a heck of a race, because obviously it's a little bit similar to the Australian Grand Prix, right? Australia and of course Canada being eerily similar, to be perfectly honest with you. One obviously being very tropical, one being kind of almost a polar, but yeah, I have to say that it will be interesting how we can handle these long straights, right? Where it's difficult to recharge the battery, even though actually, you know, getting on the traction, as you could see, is not easy, right? You know, and especially if you overbrake yourself, you know, you really just gotta lift off. So that can help out with that battery deployment. But the most important thing over here will be to plant it on the pole position. You know, I myself over here have started with 2 poles, and the last 3 races haven't put it on. So definitely check out how I will be competing in the Canadian Grand Prix, as obviously I'm striving to again plant it on the pole position for pretty much the first time in a decade. And yeah, all I can say is that I hope you guys you know, enjoyed over here. We are again, you know, chasing some great history over here that we already have written in the beautiful red scarlet colors. So everybody, all I can say is now you know how to race, and definitely do check out as the sprint will be taking a place, as a lot of the drivers will put in some red hot laps. Check out my red hot lap, because you know, if you thought this was fast, the red hot lap is pretty much as fast as it goes, and it's perfectly executed. So this was Jan, the Small League champion, Ferrari's fastest driver, Ferrari's biggest fan, over here showing it to you. And we are very excited, you know, about the imminent announcement of that F1 26 simulator. It won't be a standalone game, as you guys know, but hey, you know, definitely the new F1 26 laps will be a great addition over here to our whole Grand Prix weekend. Hope you guys enjoying it. And now all I can say is that we love racing, we love Formula 1. This is Circuit Chill World F. We love Ferrari. Forza Ferrari!